Es difícil, no hay vida, no hay futuro, no tienen porvenir acá.
¿Y los,
Ya.
fo- y los forestales no le dan?
No, poco y nada, es porque ellos se maneja todo con maquinaria, todo con herbicida. Al principio sí, esta forestación cuando empezó era lindo porque daba trabajo, carpían, pero después ya manejan con el veneno ese nomás, con la herbicida nomás. Sí, o por ahí trae gente de otro lado, pero la gente de acá, dos o tres nomás que se ocupa, no da trabajo a la columna.
This is Lucia. She lives in Montaña Corrientes, a remote village in the Ibero wetlands of Argentina. In the last decade, the province of Corrientes has been dramatically impacted by timber plantations purchased by Harvard University. In January of 2013, two Harvard students, Gabriel Bayard and Sam Wones, traveled to Corrientes to investigate the impact of Harvard's endowment in this remote corner of South America. Harvard is the owner of two timber companies, Evasa and Las Misiones, in the area where Lucia lives. These companies, locals claim, harm communities all for the sake of easy profit. Adrián Obregón, a representative for the Association of Small Producers for the province of Corrientes, is a community leader in Montaña, the small village where Lucia lives.
No sé si la calidad de vida de la población ha mejorado, creo que no. Por lo menos de los agricultores familiares no ha mejorado.
To Harvard, in 2007, buying these plantations did not seem complicated. In fact, it seemed quite profitable. Harvard's vast plantations are about the land area of New York City, and they're composed of pine and eucalyptus trees. In the wetland of Iberá, these trees grow twice as fast as their European and North American counterparts. As a result, Harvard has planned to continue planting more plantations on its land, increasing profitability. While Harvard was hoping for a return on its investment, rural residents were hoping for some benefits too. Corrientes, after all, is one of the poorest provinces in Argentina. The GDP per capita is $4,000 a year, less than half the national figure. For locals, the companies were not providing the economic benefits once hoped for. Most of the workers for the timber plantations work for 12 days with no break, followed by a brief visit home before their next shift. Gabriel and Sam talked to a subcontracted Evasa worker whose identity has been altered out of his concern for retaliation at work about the health conditions in the plantation's living quarters.
No se puede estar el olor mismo cuando
¿Dentro de la casa?
Dentro de la casa.
Dentro de la casa. El olor
Es un olor impresionante. Te sentás a comer y cae la bosta de ellos, que cae todo, ¿no? Es un desastre.
Adentro de la casa.
Adentro de la casa.
Están haciendo sus nidos.
Sí, está.
Marcelina Ayala is retired, and she doesn't depend upon Harvard's plantations for survival. However, Harvard's businesses still impact her. Marcelina, an elderly woman who lives in Montaña, needs to travel to San Miguel, a 15-minute car ride away, once a week to see a doctor.
¿Y qué pasa cuando los camiones con la madera vienen por el camino?
Y deshace toda la ruta, deshace toda la ruta y ese otro arruino para nosotros porque los remiseros, nosotros que somos de la colonia Montaña, para ir a San Miguel cuesta un montón a nosotros, porque los camioneros deshacen toda la ruta de nosotros, de los remiseros mayormente.
¿Cuánto para tomar un remis a
Y
San
ahora
Miguel?
yo, por ejemplo, el lunes vine del pueblo y me trae por 100 pesos, directamente 100 pesos hasta acá.
Duro.
Duro. Ya imposible, ese para un pobre ya es pesado.
The dirt roads have to handle the dozens of timber-laden trucks which traverse them every day, damaging the streets that the locals depend on and making transportation expensive. In Chavarria, another town where Evasa operates, Dr. Alejandro Artin discusses how these trucks create large dust clouds.
Y después la parte negativa, o sea que ellos saben también mejor que nadie, pero toda la parte respiratoria y el riesgo que significa que pasen esos camiones enormes cargados con palos por el medio del pueblo y después la parte de los problemas respiratorios, ¿viste? Por el tema del polvillo, que es verano, invierno, en cualquier estación del año siempre está ese problema.
However, according to the provincial agency in charge of regulating these industries, the issues of health and economic development are solvable. The Minister of Production for Corrientes, Jorge Vara, discusses the image of the plantations and how the government is trying to attend to those needs.
Que nosotros venimos regularizando ahora la tierra y poniendo en mano los tenedores. Y hay que atender el reclamo, pues no se equivocan tanto, digamos. Y además es fácilmente manejable y solucionable.
Clearly, the opinions around these companies were mixed. However, Harvard students are benefiting immensely from the university's investments. Gabriel Bayard, one of the 2 students who traveled to Corrientes to visit the plantations, is a scholarship student at Harvard.
I benefit immensely from Harvard's investments and its endowment. I get tens of thousands of dollars a year to pay for books and tuition and room and board, as do a lot of other Harvard students, and I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity. But I still think that I have a personal responsibility, as do all of us do as beneficiaries of the endowment, to make sure that Harvard's investments, don't do bad in local communities where they are, and to make sure that they are, treated and managed responsibly.
Over time, though, it became clear that not everyone was benefiting from Harvard's investments in Corrientes. Adrian took Gabriel and Sam to talk to a family of smallhold farmers right next to Harvard's land. The farmers told Gabriel and Sam about the most serious allegations they had heard yet.
Quieren comprar y otro catilla se viene y dice, ya cortó el alambre, ya mi alambrado y entonces ya quería ser dueño ya. Sí. Entonces me fui y le pregunté qué hacen ahí y me dijo, yo compré y los papeles, me mostraron unos papeles truchos nomás y le dijo, yo tengo allá los originales. Por favor, muéstrame, me dijo. Vino y le mostré acá, yo los leo. Vendeme, me dijo entonces. No, le dije yo. Porque no quiero vender, le digo. Si no, hace rato vendía, le digo yo.
While illegal transactions and land grabs are difficult to prove, Harvard's proximity to the plantations and their irresponsible actions merits further investigation. Ivasa and Las Misiones managers who refused to go on camera told us that their companies always comply with the law. But Adrian, who has seen this illicit activity in his own community, explained the process.
Hay personas que venden la tierra, los empresarios lo compran, pero con documentos falsos, es ilegal. Y hay algunos que le dejan, le hacen en una esquinita le hacen un cuadrito y le dejan ahí. Y cuando se le termina el dinero, que es poco, porque a ellos les parece mucho en el momento, pero cuando empiezan a vivir de eso es poco. Viven en la pobreza total, quedan en la pobreza total.
Adrian has long questioned the plantation's business model. He believes that the companies currently provide little benefit to the province, and he wants to push them to provide more social benefits to the community.
Yo empecé por el lado de la tierra porque sin la tierra no podemos producir. Y si no producimos no hay alimento, y si no hay alimento no hay vida.
Adrian and others like him need to be heard. In Sam and Gabriel's time in Argentina, they found a lot to be concerned about. But Emilio Spataro, an environmental activist who works on preserving the Iberá wetlands, said there is hope.
Que los verdaderos dueños de Base Las Misiones, que están obteniendo ganancias con la destrucción ambiental de nuestros esteros de Iberá, con la precarización laboral y con la falta de respeto hacia las comunidades, que se hagan responsables del conflicto que está aumentando en la zona y tengan una actitud de querer oír las distintas voces que critican lo que ocurre y de sentarse a dialogar para solucionar cada uno de los problemas de manera responsable. Ese es el camino de solución.
People like Lucia, Adrian, and Marcelina want Harvard to be a positive force in their communities. Their demands are simple. They want Harvard to be a responsible owner of its companies. Harvard can be a responsible investor. Join Responsible Investment at Harvard in its efforts by signing our pledge of support. Read the official report on Harvard in Iberá online.